So, I've been a big fan of Dragon Ball What If battles for several years, and one of the ones that recently caught my attention was Hyourinjutsu's Golden Frieza vs GT Goku one, which, although ended pretty grim, was very enjoyable to say the least, and it got me thinking. If we were to have these two duke it out, according to statements and feats, who would truly be able to win? For this battle, we will be going over Goku from the Dragon Ball GT anime series, and Golden Frieza from the Dragon Ball Z Revival of Frieza movie. And I want to hammer this in because we will only cover Dragon Ball Super Golden Frieza at the end of the video, given that the Dragon Ball Z movies and the Dragon Ball Super series have very different scaling, as I'll get into later on. Alright, so does the vastly powered up Goku have any chance against the Golden Emperor who slapped around Goku with a divine Super Saiyan form, or will his primal state also be outmatched? So without further ado, let's jump right into this. For starters, let's begin with the scaling that we have for GT Goku, who would not only scale from the Z anime, but from some movies as well, since we see Cooler, Frieza's brother, in one of the scenes during the Super 17 Hell arc, which will be very important later on. To begin, base GT Goku is easily superior to his Super Saiyan 3 levels of power from the Buu saga, as he's able to have a pretty intense sparring match with Oob at the beginning of the series, who is literally Kid Buu reincarnated and with several years of training on top of that. This is insane because Kid Buu was not only capable of damaging the infinitely large Kaioshin realm while in his battle with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but he was also implied as being able to wipe out the Grand Kai's planet, which is a decent fraction of the size of Heaven, a planet as wide as the infinite living universe, making it in essence an infinitely sized planet if you want to take the guidebooks literally. I've gone over these feats before in my Broly vs Buu video, but these showings can easily be scaled from multi-galactic to universal plus levels of power, depending on the amount of damage he did and the amount of effort you think Kid Buu would have to put to being able to perform the aforementioned feats. I personally believe that there is more logical consistency with Buuhan being the strongest Buu, being that he forced Super Vegito, the verbatim strongest character in the Z anime series as proven by Daizenshu 7, to try against him when he performed the Vice Shout feat that was going to wipe out the living universe by collapsing alternate dimensions, and due to the Dragon Ball Forever guidebook stating that he is the strongest Buu as well. But if you want to take the multitude of anime statements that infer that Kid Buu is the strongest one, then if Oob scales from Kid Buu, and Kid Buu is stronger than Buuhan, then Oob, and in effect base GT Goku, would already scale from their multi-galactic to universe plus levels of power. It becomes even more obvious when we see Goku hold up General Rildo in base, who he stated was even stronger than Buu, and as not comparing to everyone else they had fought until now. Again, we don't know which Buu he is referring to. Most people assume he's referring to Kid Buu or Fat Buu since those are the most prevalent ones that he fought. But if we take it as a highball, we could argue it is talking about Buuhan. Regardless, if it's talking about Kid Buu, it doesn't really change anything because of the aforementioned anime statements, which GT clearly takes after. Not to mention that Dragon Book 7 actually states that Kid Buu is the strongest Buu as well, so hey, just food for thought. We can easily scale GT Goku above Super Vegito from Z, given that when Super Baby 1, Super Saiyan 2 Baby was transforming, he achieved, verbatim, the greatest Saiyan power ever, which Goku agreed with and even said that he had never felt the ki as awesome or as high as his. Since Goku is well aware of Vegito's power, this would infer that Super Baby 1 was superior to Super Vegito, and by extent, so was Super Baby 2, who was absolutely dicked on by a suppressed Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Even after Baby himself got another additional boost by absorbing 1000 times the Blood Waves amount that Goku did and became a Golden Great Ape, Goku was still able to overcome him by obtaining a full power Super Saiyan 4 state by absorbing the energy from his allies. Which, although it's not outright stated to be a different form in the series, it is implied by video games that it is certainly a different form from the typical Super Saiyan 4 state. Once Goku gets on by Baby Super Saiyan equivalent even as a Super Saiyan 3, he gets teleported to the Sugodoku Space after being saved from Baby's Revenge Death Ball by Kibito Kai, which is a space between dimensions that base Goku was able to crack and move around in after he destroyed it with a Kamehameha. If he's able to move around in a dimension whose time-space he likely destroyed, this would already give Goku inaccessible levels of speed. In other words, he's able to move in a space without time-space, or when time itself is zero, which is far faster than being massively faster than light or being able to move through an infinite realm in finite time, like we saw with Afterlife Saga base Goku when he crossed to Hell from the Grand Kai's planet in a few moments, which should grant him infinite levels of speed, given that heaven, which is as wide as the infinite living universe, is but a fraction of the distance that Goku had to cover to get down to hell from the Grand Kai's planet. But GT Goku can be scaled even faster. Since Cooler is canon to GT, this would infer that Movie 5 and Movie 6 are canon to GT as well. Which is absolutely insane because, as confirmed in a guide, when Goku and Metacooler were fighting in the middle of instant transmission, they were brawling in a space beyond time, making them immeasurable, or in other words, they have movement beyond linear time, which for example would be comparable to Silver Surfer time traveling through pure speed alone. And did I forget to mention that Goku and Metacooler did this in base? And it's also more likely that most of the movies are canon, being that Goku does know the Dragon Fist, which he only showcased in movie 13, so we know at least movie 5, 6, and 13 are within GT's continuity. Point is, it is clear as day that using the Z anime continuity in the Z movies, base GT Goku is capable of moving at infinite speeds at bare minimum, but can reach inaccessible and even immeasurable levels of speed. Not to mention that during his scuffle with Cell and Frieza, base Goku, by simply powering up, was able to shake the afterlife all the way down from hell, which is consistent given his power growth. Goku then gets several times stronger, given that even though he saw Majin get his ass beat by Super 17 from hell, he was still confident enough to fight him in his mastered Super Saiyan state, and he even manages to get a decent hit in. Of course, Super 17 was sticking around, but Goku was still doing better than Majin was, even though Super Saiyan 3 Goku in an earlier arc was struggling against Super Saiyan Baby, yet Majin was able to somewhat compete with Super Baby 2, or the equivalent of Baby Super Saiyan 3 form as inferred in the GT Perfect files. Before we get into the Shadow Dragon arc, where Goku showcases even more insane shit, we have to go over a guidebook statement from the Dragon Ball GT TV special comic that infers that Super Vegito might surpass the power of a Super Saiyan 4. But going by the aforementioned scaling and statements, it is more than likely that Super Vegito is far inferior to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but for those that do think the guidebook is correct, I guess you could at least imply that Super Vegito and Super Saiyan 4 Goku are similar in power, but that would be quite illogical since Enraged Buhan was able to make Super Vegito struggle through breaking his Vice Shout barrier, which would infer that although Super Vegito was superior to Buhan, he wasn't so overwhelmingly powerful that he would be able to beat him easily. Yet, Buu Plus level characters like Rildo were introduced, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku was able to overcome quite easily. Also, the guidebook is not 100% clear on if they mean Super Saiyan 4 Goku in general, or just a Super Saiyan 4 multiplier in itself. Regardless, I personally don't agree with this statement, just going by how GT seems to outscale anything we have seen in Z, but if you go by this statement, then I guess you could argue straight away that Golden Frieza does slap, given that during the Battle of Gods movie, Goku states that even fusion wouldn't be enough to take care of Beerus, yet Super Saiyan God Goku, and by extent Super Saiyan Blue Goku, would be able to contend with him a lot better. Also, one could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that the guide that states Super Vegito may be stronger than a Super Saiyan 4 came out during the Baby Saga, or around there. So it's likely not talking about Super Saiyan 4 Goku from the Super 17 or Shadow Dragon arcs, or even Super Saiyan 4 Goku in general to begin with. But I thought it would be good to bring up for those that were curious about my thoughts on it. But even if we take this statement literally, Super Saiyan 4 Goku should not only have superior stamina than Golden Frieza, given that he was able to take a multitude of attacks and stay transformed, even when his ki was drained, but going by scaling from Metacooler, he should be far faster than Z Golden Frieza as well, if you want to argue that the Z movies did not take place during the same continuity as the Battle of Gods and Revival of Frieza films. More on this later on though. There aren't any universal feats within the Battle of Gods or Revival of Frieza movies, but they do clearly infer that Super Saiyan God Goku and by extent Beerus and Golden Frieza scale well above Super Saiyan Vegito and therefore scale to being well above baseline universal. Although Golden Frieza doesn't quite scale to a full power Beerus and Z, he would scale from his level of raw power that he showed in the Battle of Gods movie that was stated as transcending dimensions in the Chouzenshu 4. Which you could argue is enough to wipe out the afterlife, which is a higher dimensional realm as confirmed by the Daizenshu 4 World Guide. This is consistent due to the fact that the June 2013 V-Jump issue states that Super Saiyan God Goku and by extent Beerus had been part of a super dimensional battle. In other words, Golden Frieza, even in the Z continuity, has an argument for having 5th dimensional power. It also depends on how you want to interpret the following statement from the 2013 Battle of Gods Battle Book, which states that Beerus' power transcends all previous villains and is in a different dimension of power. So, does this statement mean that Beerus is above all the canon Z villains like Cell and Boo? Or does it mean he's above all villains in general, including the ones from the movies and GT, like Omega Shenron, Broly, and Janemba? If you want to argue it means it's above all villains in general, then this would mean that Beerus, and by extension Golden Frieza, would scale from Metacooler's immeasurable speed feat. But if you want to argue it just means the Z-canon villains, then Goku would still have the speed advantage scaling off of Metacooler, which is honestly the only thing that makes his battle somewhat competitive. Regarding the Shadow Dragon Saga, the evil Shenron is stated as being able to bring destruction to the universe, which just makes sense as some of them were able to somewhat compete with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, like Ice and Nova Shenron. Or well, not really Ice Shenron because he got Dragon Fisted hella hard. However, since Shenron was about that for sure, since he effortlessly killed Nova Shenron, tanked the 10 times Kamehameha from Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and after he transformed into Omega Shenron, he became at least 10 times stronger than before, which allowed him to slap 2 Super Saiyan 4s around and endure an attack from Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, somehow. Omega Shenron using his minus energy was going to be able to wipe out the entire macrocosm over time, which can be scaled to low multiversal, going simply off of raw power levels. He even states numerous times that he would lay waste to the galaxy and the entire universe like a god of destruction. For further confirmation that he would destroy the entire macrocosm, including the afterlife, it is also stated by the Kais that even their realm would not be spared. Yet, even so, Super Saiyan 4 Goku with his Dragon Fist was able to pierce right through him and nearly would have killed him if it wasn't for Omega Shenron's bullshit regeneration. Regardless, the point is that Super Saiyan 4 Goku would somewhat scale to Omega Shenron's raw power if he's able to keep up with him and severely damage him, making him in essence 5D or low multiversal just like Frieza as well. It is also stated that Ultra Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku was close to as strong as Omega Shenron. Again, it depends on if you want to argue that the original Z movies are part of the Battle of Gods and a revival of Frieza canon, but if they aren't a part of it, then we can argue that Super Saiyan 4 Goku has the greater speed and logically the greater stamina. But if we do infer that the Z movies take place in the same continuity, then even Base or Final Form Frieza would be able to exterminate Goku, given that he was somewhat on par with Base Goku, who at this point had achieved the same Beyond God state, which allowed him to exhibit Super Saiyan God levels of power in Base, which as I mentioned earlier, is stated to have super dimensional power and in effect, would also surpass all of the previous movie and GT villains and by extent, eliminate Goku's speed advantage. Now, if we were to use the canon Dragon Ball Super scaling for the Revival of Frieza arc, then Golden Frieza would blow GT Goku out of the water attack potency and durability wise even more, given that he would scale massively above the Battle of Gods Super Saiyan God Goku that was going to be able to wipe out the macrocosm, a small multiverse with several infinite time-space continuums while suppressed, which easily trumps whatever raw power scaling we have for GT Goku, who somewhat scales to Omega Shenron. And speed-wise, Goku might still have it there. Although the Dragon Ball Super characters do reach inaccessible and infinite speeds, they don't quite get to immeasurable speeds. So even though Golden Frieza would have a massive power advantage, Goku might still have an answer with his speed and stamina. Too Long didn't read, if we're using strictly Dragon Ball Z or Revival of Frieza scaling, then GT Goku would win through speed blitzing. If we're using the Revival of Frieza movie plus the original DBZ movies, then Golden Frieza would stomp and attack potency, speed, and durability. But if we're using the Dragon Ball Super scaling, then Frieza would still be stronger, but lose his speed advantage, giving GT Goku a chance to outlast and blitz. Then again, if you consider Battle of Gods and the Revival of Frieza movies to be canon to GT, which I've seen some people argue before, then with that logic you could argue that GT Goku does win overall. But anyways, what did you think of this breakdown? Do you think GT Goku has a chance, or would he fall just like his Dragon Ball Z counterpart? Please let me know, have a good one, be sure to subscribe, and peace out, thotties.